Could save real money on your car insurance. We have David Shaw, Andrew Luck's college coach. We have Jay Glazer in 10 minutes, who last week felt something behind the scenes was up. Pat McAfee, very talented, just got hired over at DAZN to be a morning host. He's going to come on, join us, former Andrew Luck teammate, a very thoughtful, mindful guy. So we've got a lot of stuff today, of course, in 40 minutes, Colin right, Colin wrong, a lot of both. It's a sad day for me because I love football. I love quarterback play. And Andrew Luck, I think, was my favorite college to pro transition quarterback, probably of my life. I love John Elway, too. But Andrew Luck was different than other quarterbacks for me. But I thought about this morning, and a member of the staff brought this up. I want you to think about this for a second. There's not a single quarterback in the AFC this morning between the ages of 25 and 35 that you absolutely know is a franchise quarterback. You got Ben, Rivers, and Brady, the old guys. You got Baker, Deshaun, Sam, and Mahomes, the young guys. There's a decade gap in the AFC, 25 to 35. Now, it's not like that in the NFC. You got Dak and Goff and Wentz, the young guns. You got Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, middle group. You've got Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, both first-ballot Hall of Famers, the old guys. There is no easy pass on this Disney ride, okay, in the NFC. In the AFC, translation to me, Tom, Philip, Ben, 2 years from now, call it quits. Patrick Mahomes is not going to have a barrier. He'll be slightly older and significantly more talented than almost everybody in the AFC. I did this last week. I put up what I believe, because I don't believe we've ever had a dynasty all-time great quarterback without a great coach. Even the guys that didn't win Super Bowls, Dan Marino had Don Shula, Dan Fouts had the brilliant Don Coryell. And I put down the next five most probable dynasty relationships, quarterback to coach. Well, for our TV viewers, Luck and Reich were 4. Put an X through that. It's Mahomes and Reed, and then 3 NFC pairings. Goff, McVay, Wentz, Peterson, Wilson, Carroll. So, you know, there's a big gap now in the AFC where it's young guys, unfulfilled, a lot of promise, a lot of hope, some of that injuries, and the old guys that we know are not going to be around forever and do generally, Brady kind of the exception, or maybe he's not, have some physical limitations. Ben doesn't run like he used to. You know, Rivers is getting a little up there. The translation to me is Patrick Mahomes could have a very long, fruitful relationship with the Super Bowl. Not that far. By the way, he may knock a couple down before the old guys retire. But this quarterback coaching relationship, you're as successful as the barriers you have to overcome. Even Peyton Manning. You know, Phil Mickelson had to overcome Tiger Woods in his prime. Arnie had to overcome Jack. You're as successful as the barriers in front of you. Andrew Luck was one of those barriers, potentially, to Patrick Mahomes going to 6 Super Bowls. So, you know, I don't think there's any good news out of Andrew Luck leaving. But if you're Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, a barrier it's disappeared. A massive, not a small barrier, potentially a barrier you would not overcome consistently. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Well, I think it's safe to say the AFC South has gotten quite a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
And to add another layer to it, the Texans are going to be without Lamar Miller for the rest of the season. They feared the worst when he went down on Saturday. He was carted off the field during their preseason game against the Cowboys, and it's now been confirmed that he tore his ACL. He will be out for the season, and Duke Johnson will now take the starting job, being acquired from the Browns earlier in the month.
Yeah, it's one of those hits you could tell on TV.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we've seen those injuries before. It feels that way. You guys always know. I mean, when you tear your ACL, I've torn my ACL. you know something is wrong.
Right.
No matter what the degree is, if it's something, a moment that's super painful, or if it just pops, it feels different than any other kind of injury that you have.
What does it feel like, by the way?
Well, for me, I just planted my foot to change direction. I was playing soccer, and you could hear the pop.
Oh.
So it was just a pop feeling.
And then you go down because you can't push off it.
You can't put any weight on it. So,
wow.
So it wasn't that it was excruciating. It's just a very hard feeling to explain. It was like immediately buzzing, but you can't. It's more terror than it is like actual pain. Like you realize you can't use your leg. Like you can't put any
the cable breaks, basically.
Right. Yes, and then it's obviously an excruciating rehab process, and it takes a long time to heal, even if you have surgery immediately. So they have Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson in 2018 only started 2 games for the Browns, 201 rush yards, 429 receiving yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns.
Nice player.
He's a nice player. He's a capable replacement for Lamar Miller, but Lamar Miller was a Pro Bowler last year. I mean, it's a rough loss for them. And like I said, the AFC South is just very much evened out because that's a big piece for Deshaun Watson to lose. So Ben Roethlisberger famously criticized Antonio Brown's route running last season, and then the testy end of the 2018 season eventually led to the Steelers trading Antonio Brown to the Raiders. Well, he was asked about his comments on his former teammate, and he had some big regrets. He said, "I wish I wouldn't have done it because we saw what happened, and obviously it ruined a friendship. I just got caught up in the heat of battle."
Oh, that's nice.
Well, I mean, it's a little late for that. Look, this kind of goes back to we have talks all the time about how coaches treat certain players differently.
Yeah.
Different players get different treatment. Obviously, Antonio Brown is somebody that we talk about that with a lot, with the way that John Gruden is handling him in Hard Knocks. And I also think it's kind of on your quarterback and a leader, 2-time Super Bowl champ, to have a pulse and have some emotional discipline to know that you can criticize certain guys publicly, you can criticize certain guys privately. Sometimes you can do both.
Yes.
But you have to you have to know the temperature of the room as well.
It's hard.
And especially if you're going to be someone like Ben, who is out there doing interviews and is very vocal, you have a bit of a responsibility as well to know, this is my star receiver. He's also my friend. As he said, it ruined his friendship. So he's also your friend. You have to know that this is not something that's going to be taken well. And the moment that it is said and the reaction comes, you need to do everything you can to fix it. And I think it was just an ego contest at that point.
Yeah, this is why I say Dak Prescott's a franchise quarterback. I don't think Dak's as talented as a lot of guys. But Dak opens his mouth and always says the right thing.
Which is very, very, very hard to do.
Yes, and even with the anthem controversy in Dallas, he stood up, took a ton of heat and said, I'm going to put my hand on my heart here and I'm going to stand, and got massive blowback. And I always felt Jerry was like, listen, that was good for our business. You, as a quarterback, you become a little bit of a businessman.
Right.
You are, this is where
You're an extension of the head coach.
Yeah, so this is where I side with you. I mean, like Antonio Brown would drive me personally nuts. But the responsibility is on the quarterback. Go to therapy. Therapists will tell you. It really only takes one person to make a relationship work. You have to sacrifice more.
Right.
But you're paying the quarterback. This is why I'm tough on Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston. This is why I'm tough on them. It's not just I can throw a football. Like, you got to own the room, right, and you got to be a businessman.
It's a full-on different responsibility than every other position on the team, and that's why they're valued the way that they are. Clearly, this was a mistake, and obviously Ben knows that now, but that's just the way it is. You have to be able to control your emotions in that position. Finally, the Colts are doing right by Andrew Luck following his surprise retirement this weekend. He signed a 5-year, $140 million extension with $87 million guaranteed and a $32 million signing bonus in 2016. So he would have owed the Colts $12.8 million as a prorated portion of the bonus and $12 million as a roster bonus that he got in March. Instead, they are making a financial settlement to let him keep the money as a thank you for his hard work for the team. And Colts owner Jim Irsay also commented on how much money Luck left on the table by retiring.
It's a tough thing. Look at, he's leaving, $450, $500 million on the table potentially. I mean, $500 million. And he's saying, you know what, I want to have my integrity has to be real. I have to be able to look T.Y. in the eye, look my teammates, look coach, look Chris in the eye and say, I am all in. And he just didn't feel at this point in time he could do that.
I really commend the Colts for doing this.
By the way, Jim Irsay can drive me crazy. That's his best moment.
Yes.
Like, that's Jim Irsay's best moment. People don't understand what Andrew Luck, I mean, selfishly as sportscasters and fans, I lost something here.
Right.
No, Andrew gave up $500 million because quarterbacks going forward are going to make about $34 million a year.
Right. No, he left a lot of money on the table.
Yeah.
But we've seen teams, obviously the Lions are notorious for this, with Megatron, with Calvin Johnson,
Right.
and with Barry Sanders, asking for money back from their players, which, I mean, and especially with the Megatron situation, felt completely just out of line, disrespectful, and the numbers were absurd.
Because he was such a good guy.
Right, and so this is the right thing to do. And this is something, like, there's a lot of money they could have got back from him, like a significant amount. So for them to just say, you know what, we're not going to get into it, the way that it'll look publicly, especially the fact that he's retiring to, you know, save his mental and physical health, we're going to ask for millions of dollars back after what he's sacrificed. It's a good moment out of the Colts and the right thing to do. I'm glad they're doing that.
Yeah. Joy with news.
Well, that's the news.